The Nile made Egypt a powerhouse from the pyramids to today, but over the last 150 years, its population exploded from under 10 million to 115 million, while the Nile's water stayed the same or shrank. Today, each Egyptian gets just 500 cubic meters of water per year, half the UN's scarcity threshold. By 2030, it could reach absolute scarcity. And Egypt is not alone. 1/4 of the world, 2.3 billion people, faces water stress. Egypt is one of the oldest civilizations of history. It exists for 5,000 years, and except for the last 120 years, the population of Egypt was always under 10 million. Egypt has little to no rainfall, and it relies almost entirely on the Nile for its water supply. The fertile Nile banks and delta have traditionally supported agriculture, enabling Egypt not only to feed its population but also to export food, particularly wheat. The ancient city of Rome was able to reach 1 million people, partly due to the steady grain deliveries coming from Egypt. Today, Egypt is the world's largest wheat importer. What happened over the last century and a half, similar to many other countries, is the population has surged while its water supply stagnated. This growth stems from advancements in healthcare, reducing child mortality, and agricultural technology, boosting food production. Egypt's population reached 19 million in 1947 and exceeded 40 million by the 1980s. The water crisis did not appear overnight, it built up slowly for decades. Exacerbating the problem are rising temperatures which increase evaporation and lead to the annual loss of billions of cubic meters of water from Lake Nasser, and sea level rise salinating the Nile Delta and rendering arable land infertile. Another big challenge for Egypt is the Nile passes multiple countries, of which Egypt is the last one. Those other countries, among them Sudan and Ethiopia, also have rising populations that need more water. Recently, Ethiopia built the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, a project that stirred up a lot of controversy and even spiked fears that it might lead to a military conflict. But Egypt is far from the only country that has a severe water problem. Many regions globally face similar challenges, leading to a decreased quality of life, political tensions, and even armed conflicts. There are many countries that have a water supply issue, and the causes that led to this are usually similar to Egypt. The technological advancements of the past couple centuries reduced mortality rates, especially child mortality, and boosted agricultural production. As the population exploded, water consumption increased, frequently destroying fragile ecosystems. In many regions, population levels have simply outstripped the available water resources. The population growth has varied from region to region. China was once the world's most populous nation, but for decades its fertility rate has been below replacement level, and the population grew less and less, stagnated, and then started to decrease. The solution to a problem usually opens the door to another problem. Now China, which was once worried that it might run out of water, has another headache. Its population becomes older, putting a strain on its economy. But this is for another video. Let's get back to the water problem. Unsustainable population growth is coupled with climate change, which is a critical threat in many regions. Decreased rainfall diminishes water availability, and the solutions often require global collaboration, exceeding the capacity of individual nations. When hearing about water scarcity, many people will of course think of Africa, but Central Asia faces equally bad circumstances. Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, mountainous upstream nations, receive abundant rainfall, feeding the Sir Darya and Amu Darya rivers. These rivers are crucial for downstream nations, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and Turkmenistan, providing water for agriculture and domestic use. During the Soviet era, centralized control minimized conflict over water resources. The Soviets cultivated vast cotton fields in Central Asia, a water-intensive crop that depleted the river's flow. The Aral Sea, an inland lake fed by these rivers, drastically shrank due to extensive irrigation, devastating its ecosystem. As the Soviet Union collapsed, the unavoidable conflict over the flow of water started. All 5 Central Asian republics have high fertility rates and growing populations. Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, the water sources, need to take more of it for their own needs and are interested in building dams for energy and economic development. Downstream nations also have rising water needs and they continue planting the water-thirsty cotton, but they receive less water than they used to. The problem is exacerbated by climate change, which slowly melts the glaciers from which a part of the water that flows into the 2 rivers comes, leading to a decreased flow of water in the future. These fueled conflicts that sometimes turned violent, and the situation will only get worse. But as a big part of the world remains without water, many countries possess much more water than they need. This situation transforms water into a strategic asset, capable of exerting political control. Not every country has a water problem. Some countries possess such abundant water resources that they will never run out of it. We can think of Russia, Canada, or Brazil as the best examples. We already see instances where countries use their geography in their advantage. Let's take Turkey as an example. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers originate in the Armenian highlands of eastern Turkey, flowing into Syria and Iraq. These rivers are vital for Iraq, which receives minimal rainfall except in its northeastern region and relies heavily on these rivers for both domestic and agricultural water. By constructing dams along these rivers, Turkey can control or restrict water flow, creating leverage over Iraq. Whenever the geography allows it, pipelines will be constructed to transport water from areas of abundance to regions with high demand. China, while having avoided a water crisis, still has a low per capita water availability. Lake Baikal in Russia, a vast freshwater reservoir, is located near the Chinese border, making a pipeline a viable option for supplying water to China. Many rich countries have built desalination plants. While this method produces high-quality drinkable water, it is expensive and often the countries that need water are poor and cannot afford it. An alternative solution could be transporting water by ships, just like the oil trade. Some Arab countries already import fresh water from the European rivers via ships, a method often cheaper than desalination. How the future of water supply will look like is not set, but what is clear is that many countries will be tempted to use their water reserves as a tool to achieve their strategic goals. The population of many countries, including Egypt, continue to grow. This is both due to a very young population that is about to start making children, and the fertility rates remain above replacement levels. This means that the water scarcity problem will only get worse. How much worse? It depends. There is a clear difference if Egypt manages to stabilize its population at 150 million, or whether it will reach 200 million. The difference will be whether it's going to be bad or catastrophic. The country will have to import more and more food, placing a strain on its trade balance. Egypt is not rich, and it has to make efforts to raise the billions needed for food imports. But Egypt might not even be the worst case. Countries like Niger, which a century ago had around 1 million people, now has 28 million, and estimates project that it might reach 100 million by the end of the century. Niger is mostly desert, and its small, fertile southern region cannot sustain such rapid population growth. The water scarcity problem does not appear overnight, but it builds for decades. If nothing is done to avoid falling into it, the consequences will be felt for generations to come. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video.